Welcome back into Ohio Sports Zone, where I'm now joined by Ohio hockey forward Patrick Spellacy, who has been a huge factor in leading the Bobcats to a 14-2-2 record. Patty, thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
You know, you've been a big factor for this team so far. You have 5 goals, 7 assists, 12 points on the year. What kind of difficulties did you face with new head coach Sean Hogan coming in, but what kind of advantages did you gain from that as well?
Well, I don't think there were too many difficulties with having a new coach. I think just the, change in systems such as your forecheck, defensive zone, and your power play and penalty kill. So I think that took a little bit of a transition period, but Coach Hogan comes in with a lot of experience, in the ACHA and NCAA D1. So it's always good to have a guy who knows what it takes, to win a championship with you. So
did you see a huge difference in coaching philosophies from John Sheridan to Sean Hogan, or have they been relatively similar?
I mean, for the most part, it's pretty much the same systems, but I think Coach Hogan, emphasizes a lot of doing the smaller things, creating good habits and finishing plays pretty hard. So I think that's probably the biggest difference, I would say.
Transitioning over to your line, you have an excellent line so far this year with Michael Harris and Joe Breslin. How long did it take for you three to develop that type of chemistry? You guys are always out on the ice. You move the puck really well. You're able to get shots on the net. I feel like your offensive line is one of the most intimidating in the league. How are you guys able to develop that chemistry, and how long did it take?
It didn't take very long. Luckily for me, I played with Joe Breslin last season, so that helped. We knew each other's style of play, and Harry's an easy kid to play with. Feeding the puck, he's a big kid, and so I think we clicked right away. And it's nice that we're all pretty bigger and taller. So
yeah, exactly. You were voted the CHL Rookie of the Year last season. How accomplished did you feel winning that award, and did it change your work ethic at all going into this offseason?
I know for myself it was a great award, but it goes to show like our team last year how cohesive we were last year, and my line mates helped me a lot and helped playing with Brett Agnew, one of Ohio's greatest players. So that was a big help. And then I don't think it changed my work ethic very much. You got to have the same mentality day in and day out. And I think everyone on the team has bought into that, and it's nice to see this year that everyone's coming with the same mentality.
We talked a little bit about differences in coaching philosophies between your previous 2 coaches. What kind of differences have you seen in the 2 teams you have played with so far for the Bobcats? Have there been major differences, or have you guys been able to flow together to create kind of a unison between the past 2 seasons?
Yeah, I don't think there was too many differences. We didn't lose too many guys, so the core is still there, and I think we built a pretty good chemistry going from last year and transitioning to this year. So I think it's just keep building on, to be successful and to go where we want to go. So I think we just got to keep doing what we're doing.
As a team this year, you obviously have goals that you set throughout the season. Mm-hmm. You were defeated by Iowa State in the ACHA and CHL tournaments last year. What kind of goals did you set for yourselves going into this season, both individually as a player and as a team?
The same goals as we set last year. We want to go to leagues and win leagues, and then go to nationals and take it home. So I think it's a process. So it's one step at a time, game by game, weekend by weekend. So I think if we just keep going with that mentality, I think we'll end up where we want to be.
Everyone talks about the home crowd at Bird Arena being such a factor when you go there and play. The crowd is always pumped up. Everyone comes out and supports you guys every single game. What kind of factor is that for you to go out and hear that crowd before the game starts? And how do you think that affects your opponents when they come out and are in that environment of play?
I think it's a huge advantage. We go around the league and you see the arena's half empty, and you come to the Bird, and the place is rocking all the time. It doesn't matter who we're playing. It could be a huge game, or it could be a game that we're winning 8-0. It's the same atmosphere every time. I think it's a huge advantage, and it makes the Bird one of the hardest places to play.
Yeah, you talked a little bit about half-empty stadiums for other crowds. Is there any CACHL teams that compare with the crowd at Bird Arena? Do any stack up, or is ours standalone the best?
I think ours stands alone the best, obviously, but I think Illinois has a pretty good crowd there. Their fans, heckle with us a little bit. So.
Yeah, they definitely get pretty rowdy so far. You're from Lakewood, Ohio, like we talked a little bit about before. Talk a little bit about the path that led you to becoming a player on this Ohio hockey team.
Well, I grew up in Lakewood, like you said. I played, the house league there. Then I went over to Cleveland Barons, which is kind of a AAA league, and then played at St. Ignatius with actually Liam Geither, which is a huge, kind of funny that we're here now. And then I played a year of junior after high school, and I came here.
Did that playing with Liam Geither allow you to establish chemistry with him early on, so it kind of transferred over into this season?
Yeah, I've known Liam since I was probably 5, so I've been best friends with him for a while. But yeah, he definitely, he kind of helped me come here. When I was playing junior, I texted him about the program and stuff like that, so he was definitely a huge influence.
Yeah, and talking a little bit about pregame rituals with teams and players, everyone has some kind of routine or a ritual they do before a game to get them in the zone. Is there anything that you do specifically, say, eat a certain meal? Do you have a certain pair of underwear you put on? Anything like that?
No, I keep it pretty simple, actually. I get to the rink, probably 2 hours before the game, and I do the same thing every time, but it's not really anything too crazy. But it's funny watching other guys who have those crazy rituals and whatnot, watching them do what they do. So
we are right beside you in the hockey locker room getting ready for
Yeah.
hockey sometimes, and we hear your locker room before the game starts. It gets us pumped up.
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest, hearing you guys get rowdy, get ready to go. What's the atmosphere like in that locker room? Is it, is that something you look forward to going to every day and,
Yeah,
doing what you do
definitely.
with those
No,
teammates?
we just get each other pumped up, and we've been doing it since last year, and I think they've been doing it before that. It's the same ritual before we get dressed, and so it's just funny, just keep everyone loose, and but we get focused, obviously when before the game, but it just keeps everyone loose and prepared.
Talk a little bit about your mustache. Usually we don't bring that up as a topic of conversation, but it is Movember,
Yeah, it
and
is.
your team is heavily involved in that, and I'm sure the viewing audience from back home notices that beautiful mustache right there. So tell me a little bit about Movember and how that has came into the culture of your hockey team.
Movember, it's, everyone, keeps their mustache or whatnot if you can grow one. Actually, this is my first mustache I've ever grown. It's taken me 2 months, so. But now everyone grows their mustache out, and it's for prostate cancer, to raise awareness. And our hockey team's selling shirts. I think Derek Ramey is one of the guys out in front of that. So it's just a nice way to now show our support for those who are going through something.
It's always great to do something that does a little bit something more than yourself. Patty, thank you so much for coming on and giving us time to interview you, and best of luck for the rest of the season.
Thanks for having me.
We will take a quick commercial break, but when we come back, we have a special segment on Feast or Famine.